Daniel Hemric will race full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2021 for Joe Gibbs Racing in the number 18 car. A huge move here for Daniel Hemric, a guy who's had a bunch of up and downs throughout his entire NASCAR career. It was in the Xfinity Series for RCR for a couple of seasons and then made it to the championship and then got that big break to go to the Cup Series 2 years ago now. And then this past season, he got demoted after the emergence of Tyler Reddick in the Xfinity Series when he won 2 consecutive championships. So RCR, I don't blame them for putting him in their car. So then Daniel Hemric was at the kind of the short end of the stick there. So he was in part-time equipment this past season with JRM Junior Motorsports. So it's a huge opportunity for him. He had some ups and downs this past season as well. Couldn't quite get that consistency. That 8 car was kind of cursed, it seems, on occasions. But when it showed speed and Hemric was driving, it was basically a top 5 car when he got the results. So encouraging signs when he got those finishes, but the consistency is still the thing that we're looking for Daniel Hemric, and he is still yet to win in all 3 top series of NASCAR. He's gone from the trucks to the Xfinity to the Cup Series and hasn't won a race. It's a very scarce number of drivers that have been able to do that, if any, if I can remember at all. But Daniel Hemric with a huge opportunity to replace the leaving Riley Herbst as well in the number 18 car for that note. So we'll see where Herbst goes. We'll talk about that when that is fully announced. There's some speculation on where he will go. But for right now, this moment is about Daniel Hemric, Kyle.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one, to say the least. When you look back to our silly season predictions way back at the beginning of August, I believe it was, we both had Hemric going full-time in Xfinity. We both got the team wrong. I had him sticking with Junior Motorsports there and going full-time in the 8. You had him switching over to the 98. Well, it appears that the 98 will be filled by Riley Herbst. Again, we don't have that officially yet, but seems like that's the direction that Stuart Haas will be going there. And the 18 will be filled by Daniel Hemric, which is a bit of a wild card one. Yeah,
I got a number right. I got one number right.
But I thought that if Herbst would be leaving, I thought that we would be seeing another one of the Toyota development drivers step into that seat, and whether that's kind of something similar to what we saw this past season with Harrison Burton stepping up after a pretty mediocre year in the Truck Series with KBM and going up to Xfinity, maybe earlier than some of us expected, but then kind of surprised the season with some really strong results, especially early in the year. So I thought maybe we would see something like that with maybe somebody like Christian Eckes open up the seat there at KBM for something else. Maybe we would see Chandler Smith or Ty Gibbs. Like there's a lot of different options that they had. And going to the veteran option in Daniel Hemric was not one that was really on my radar, because we haven't seen Joe Gibbs Racing do this at the Xfinity Series level for a full-time driver in a long time. The last time that you go to when they had a full-time driver specifically for the Xfinity Series that wasn't kind of a prospect coming up in the series was back to 2014 with Elliott Sadler. So it's been a while since they've kind of gone down this direction. But it's one that I think is a good decision from on-track success, because Daniel Hemric has shown in the past that he can be a very consistent driver at the Xfinity Series level. You look back specifically to the 2018 season where he actually led the season in terms of season-long points based off of that consistency. Even though he didn't get any wins, he was a consistent top 3, top 5 threat, ended up finishing 3rd in the championship that season and posted some strong underlying numbers as well. Was solid in terms of and he had good passing numbers as well, was a good restarter. And then 2019 happened, and it all just kind of fell apart in the Cup Series. RCR wasn't very good. He had some bad production ratings. He was a subpar passer, wasn't great on restarts. And Tyler Reddick, on the other hand, was lighting the world on fire, essentially, in the Xfinity Series level. That move made sense at that time. And 2020 was just kind of more the same for Daniel Hemric there with Junior Motorsports. He really never found his footing there. The car seemed cursed for much of the season. Poor results, not poor results, but bad luck, regardless as to whether it was Hemric or Jeb Burton in that car getting caught up in other people's wrecks, engine issues, just kind of everything and anything that could go wrong went wrong. but it started to turn around a little bit at the end of the season. You look at the 4-race stretch for Hemric between Vegas and Kansas, top 5 finishes in all of those races, and 3 of those were top 3 finishes. So you look at the end of the season, started to really find his footing again in the Xfinity Series. I think that this is a strong move for Joe Gibbs if they want that competitive driver again, find that consistency. It'll be interesting to see if Hemric can break through and finally get that win. You would imagine he should if he's going to get any other opportunities like this again in his career with a team like Joe Gibbs Racing at the Xfinity level. I especially like the move because I thought that Herbst was kind of a waste of a ride last year. It just never really was something that was going to work long-term or short-term or anything like that. So it's a great move for Hemric. My only question is maybe why Joe Gibbs decided to go this route. Some questions in that regard, but it's definitely an interesting combination and one that definitely adds some more spice to the championship going into next season for the Xfinity Series level.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Brandon Jones when they kind of picked him up from RCR when he was doing kind of mediocre stuff in the 33 car then. And then you see what Brandon Jones has kind of emerged as is over the past couple of years and has found that form. And whether that's maybe the talent level in the Xfinity Series isn't as high this past season as it was in years previous, that allowed for more opportunities for the likes of Brandon Jones to win races. Maybe that's the case. But Daniel Hemric is someone that I mean, I don't know if I'd bet on him, but it's an interesting move in terms of there's nowhere for him to go forward in the Toyota camp kind of thing. Like it's they've got their prospects. He's not going to be in their future plans. This is very much a bet on himself kind of move. And if he can get those wins and get that performance, and who knows, even go win a championship next season, if that's even possible, then he could be looking at a Cup Series ride when the next-gen car comes out. But it's an interesting decision from both sides. There's no sponsorships as of yet that have been announced, so it's an interesting move on that perspective. You would think that they would maybe have a sponsor to kind of come with Hemric on that regard. But I mean, I didn't think Herbst was the guy over there, like you said. It just wasn't a great fit in terms of – I didn't see enough of him coming into this past season where he deserved a ride as good as the 18 car is, where it's a prominent and a deserved owner's champion in the Xfinity Series in the past. So it's top level equipment that Herbst was in, and he didn't quite deliver to that in any regard. So Hemric has got quite the opportunity here, and he should be able to match his teammates next season. I think it's a nice trio that they have over there in terms of how competitive they will be. I think they're pretty equal, in my opinion, and I think Harrison Burton maybe has that more upside, obviously. But Brandon Jones and Hemric, I think, are two equals here to kind of go head-to-head there at Joe Gibbs Racing. So, I mean, I like the move from Hemric's side. Why wouldn't you go to JGR? It makes sense in that sense. But yeah, I don't really have anything else more to add to Hemric himself or JGR. But any final thoughts, I guess, on this move for a big silly season move for the Xfinity Series?
Yeah, just the only thing is I would push back a little bit against the Brandon Jones comparison. When Joe Gibbs Racing picked up Brandon Jones from RCR, he was still a 21-year-old who was a prospect that had underperformed for RCR and was bringing sponsorship and that kind of thing. So I'd push back there because Hemric is a guy that he's 29, almost 30, turning 30 in January. So he's very much a veteran driver at this point. He's shown that he can be a top-level driver in Xfinity, even though he doesn't have that win. He's finished in the championship twice, finishing fourth and finishing third, the 2 times that he's run in the Xfinity Series full-time. So I would push back against that comparison a little bit in the past, but going into the season, yeah, I would expect at least Brandon Jones to step up to a similar level to what Daniel Hemric's done in the past, and I would expect Daniel Hemric similarly to take another step as well and perform like somebody like a Justin Allgaier at this point. If he's going to have any kind of future plans, either running full-time in Xfinity for a top-level team or moving back up to a mid-tier team in the Cup Series. He basically has to win at least one race, go and get out be in the conversation for, if not make the championship for, if he's going to have these kind of opportunities down the road. So great move for Hemric. It's kind of this one final shot to prove yourself in NASCAR, which for a guy who has gotten this far without being able to break through and get that win in NASCAR is impressive, to say the least. I'm excited to see him full-time again next year. 2020 was just kind of a write-off entirely for that 8-car, but that 4-race stretch at the end of the season here reminded, I think, a lot of people of what Daniel Hemric can do at specifically the Xfinity level. So I like the move for Hemric. I like the move from JGR just to get another competitive driver in there, kind of push that program once again, because they didn't have that kind of driver this year without Christopher Bell in that lineup. So like the move from everybody. I want to hear more about the Joe Gibbs side and maybe why they decided to go with a veteran option. Obviously, we have to see what's going to happen with your Ty Gibbses, your Chandler Smiths, the development drivers, see where they land for 2021 and kind of make sense of the whole situation. But for now, very solid move for both parties, I think.
Yeah, I didn't think that they were maybe going to even fill the seat. I thought they would maybe go down to 2 full-time guys, and then that third car was just going to be the Cup guys coming down, or if you wanted to have Eckes or somebody like that run a couple of Xfinity Series races next season, then you could. But I mean, I guess they really like having that 3 trio of cars full-time, and then put the 54 out there for the Cup guys to come down whenever they want to do their one-offs or their 5-race stretch. So I'm excited for Hemric. It's an interesting move nonetheless. So he's going to be there's going to be high expectations of him next season. If he doesn't perform, we may see the end of Daniel Hemric getting these top tier rides in Xfinity Series.
He has to win a race, like full stop.
100%.
You can't go to Joe Gibbs Racing. Like when, and no offense to Brandon Jones, but when Brandon Jones is winning races in Joe Gibbs equipment, and let's say Hemric goes out and doesn't win a race, I think that's going to end things there, because Brandon Jones is a fine driver. He's a fine prospect, but he's not like a Christopher Bell, even like a Harrison Burton, who are kind of those prospects that you can look at and go, yeah, they'll probably be filling a solid Cup ride at some day. Brandon Jones is kind of that in-between guy who you can go, yeah, maybe he ends up being like a mid-tier team kind of filler for a couple of years, that kind of thing. Maybe he's just a top-level Xfinity guy. But if Brandon Jones is able to win races in Joe Gibbs equipment, Daniel Hemric should absolutely be able to.
With Chase Briscoe not being there next season too, the door is wide open for wins. I mean, it has to be done for Hemric to continue his career. You're getting
9 more races opened up from the winner that's moving on. Obviously, Cindric is going to be there, and he's going to be tough to beat next season. But you look across the board, and unless there's some more moves that maybe we don't know about yet, it's going to be another wide open season in terms of a lot of wins opening up in the Xfinity Series, and Hemric should be a guy that's able to take at least a couple of those.
I would love to see a Hemric and Cindric battle, the old Brad Keselowski teammates again. Yeah. Cindric just can't escape them. So it would be interesting to see that if the 18 and the 22 went back and they're racing full-time in the Xfinity Series for the actual championship. That'll be a cool little battle to hopefully see in 2021.